Welcome back to the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs. Thank you for being with us as our conversation with filmmaker Jody Eldred concludes. Well, Jody, is there any advice you'd like to give to those who'd like to get into what you're doing? I mean, you've done so many different, just what you've been doing. Any advice for them right now?
Yeah, go run screaming the other direction. Find anything else to do, but the prison guard would be a good start. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. And by the way, if you're listening to this podcast, you've been listening since the beginning, then you really need to go get a life because that's way too much time spent on. You know but as I said earlier, which may or may not get edited out, the main thing, one of the main things I think all of us need to do in our lives is take a very, very close self-examination and see what has God put into me. What are the giftings that God has put into me? And it may be some of the gifts that are listed in there. It could be, a teacher, preacher, evangelist, prophet, someone who can, someone who speaks in tongues or someone who can interpret tongues. I mean, there's a wide variety of things in there that are spiritual gifts, but there's other sort of gifts, like gifts of administration and hospitality and gifts of helps and all these kinds of things. And then I think if you drill down underneath those, there are some kind of subcategories of like, okay, well, if I have this gift, for example, I feel like one of the gifts that God gave me was a gift of leadership, and it's kind of been kind of a natural thing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just bossy. I don't know. But I was in Boy Scouts and I was an Eagle Scout. And so I was senior patrol leader and, I became a diver and became a dive master. And so I was kind of the lifeguard of the dive, and I was a lifeguard as well. And so being a director and being someone who's, used to kind of giving direction to people is not something that I'm uncomfortable with. It's very natural to me. And it doesn't mean that that's a better gift than somebody else. I mean, it doesn't at all. In fact, there are many gifts I think that are far superior. My wife is a very, very strong prayer warrior and has a gift of prophecy, and I do not have that gift. I would prefer those, over mine, and hers and my gifts I think would terrify her. So it's not one's better than the other, but it's I find out what it is that God has put in you and go do that. And make sure that that's what you're doing and not doing something else. So if you want to work in this business and you feel like God is pushing you that direction, pray about it a lot, because it is a hard, hard business. There's a tremendous amount of spiritual warfare here. As a friend of mine years ago said that Washington, D.C. may be the seat of power in the United States, but Hollywood is the seat of influence. And that influence spreads all around the world. Things that are created here go throughout the entire planet. And people create out of their worldview. We create out of what we believe. And so that's why you see so much stuff that is just so morally corrupt, because the people who work in Hollywood, generally speaking, are pretty morally corrupt. They don't know God. They have no relationship with Him. They're working out of their own power. Or worse, working out of Satan's power. Because if Satan can control the messaging that comes out of Hollywood, that goes all across the planet. I think Satan works harder in Hollywood than he does probably any place else. For that very reason, we are the seat of influence for America and for much of the world. So if you're coming here to work in this business, you better be armored up. You better be spiritually super aware, and you better have mentors, and you better have people praying for you on a regular basis, and you better be in a small group with other people who will hold you accountable and hold your feet to the fire, because you will be eaten alive otherwise. You may be eaten alive anyway. There's that incredible passage in the book of Daniel where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are going to be thrown into the fiery furnace. And they said, we will not bow down to your gods, O Nebuchadnezzar, because our God will save us. But even if He doesn't, we still will not bow down to your gods. That is probably my life verse. Even if God doesn't save me, even if I do get consumed, yet He slay me, though will I trust Him. That is where I have to live working in this business, because I may never achieve any level of kind of success by the world standards. I mean, I have achieved some. I may never get to do those things that I felt like was called here to do. But, God.
Well, Jody, thanks for joining us. And We appreciate that, and we look forward to talking soon. And best to your the projects that you have coming up.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure sharing with you, bud. God bless you.
You too.
I got to get away from this. I got this big movie I want to do that's going to change people for Christ, or I want to be a famous actor or a famous director. No, it's got to be, what does God want to do with me today? And seek that and go do it, and make sure that you're on His track and not your track, because ego is a big thing, pride is a big thing, and it will keep you useless in this business. This friend of mine told me a long time ago, Pastor, he said, Satan is totally happy with God's people busy just doing good things. Satan is okay with that. What he doesn't want is us doing God things, us doing kingdom things. And you will be tempted every hour you live and work in Hollywood to do good things, even as a Christian. And Satan's okay with that. You're no threat to him so long as you're just doing that. But you start doing things where you're telling the truth about who God is and Jesus is, even in a winsome way, in a strategic way, look out, because the enemy is going to come after you. And I can tell you, after being here for 40 years, it never lets up. It never lets up. So you better be ready for war. If you're not, stay home, go do something else.
By the way, is there a website we could get more information from you, or Facebook or Twitter? Or?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. It's Jody with a Y, Eldred, E-L-D-R-E-D. And my website, it's very simple. It's Jody Eldred Productions, one word. And, pretty easy to find. Too easy sometimes.
Perfect. And I thank you again, and I'll definitely tell Steve Russo hello next time we talk.
Yeah, Steve's a good guy. And I know you interviewed my buddy Jim Hodson the other day.
I did.
Yeah, I was in their wedding, in fact, he and Sonia, so I've known them forever.
Wow.
Yeah, good pals.
I first met Jimmy about, 38 years ago. My school was one of the schools that went down to the one-way game that was on TBN at the time with host Jim McClellan. It was like the two Jims, the announcer and the host were named Jim, which was kind of confusing to me at first when watching the program. And then when I saw him, I was like, hey, you're the host of Real Videos. And then it was a fun experience. My school won the first game. Then we went down probably about a month and a half later. We lost. But then the next year, my junior high went again. But the 7th grade class didn't have anybody because our class was so small. So it was 8th and 9th graders that went on instead. But it was like, hey, I get to take a day off of school by going down to the one-way game. So that was really neat. And I've got Jim McClellan's autograph somewhere on a TBN sticker that I have somewhere in my storage. So I'm not too sure where that is, but somebody actually posted an episode of One Way Game, but there's only like one of them on YouTube. I've got I think a VHS cassette of my class from 6th grade, but even like 30 years ago, the tape quality wasn't very good. So I'm wondering what it's like now. But I just remember the prizes were so cheap. It's like, all right, Jimmy Hudson, Tom with the win. Well, Jim, the winning team will receive a $50 gift certificate to Maranatha Village Christian Store. The runner-up team will receive a $25 gift certificate to Maranatha Village. Also, the winning team will receive a trip to Marineland. I'm like, yeah, we're going to Marineland. But it turned out it was just the 4 contestants that made it on the show that were going to Marineland, not the entire class.
Oh,
not even the 2 backup contestants that were there on standby.
Oh, that's so cheap.
I was like, oh my gosh, you kidding me? Oh.
Where was that airing? What did that air on?
Well, it aired on Channel 40, I think. I don't think it aired nationally.
Was that a TBN show?
Yeah, it was a TBN show, but I'm not sure if it aired. I know it aired on KTBN TV 40. Right. I'm not sure if it did air nationally or not.
That's funny.
I talked with a game show expert named Fred Westbrook, and he thinks it was just a local show, but I can't verify either way what it was. Eventually, they did have a show called The Family One-Way Game, where 4 members of a family competed against 4 members of another family. And I think if they were champions enough times, the grand prize at the end of the season was going to be a brand new car. Plus some, like maybe, I don't know, $100 cash for the winner of the game or whatever, and $50 cash for the runner-up team. But unlike the kids' version basically they gave the answers to the contestants before, and they were open about it. It wasn't not like the quiz scandals where you didn't know. They basically said, okay, these teams have 2.5 weeks to study, Matthew 1 through 6, chapters 1 through 6, and that's what the questions would be based upon. The family one-way game, they just basically asked general Bible knowledge questions throughout the Bible. So it didn't matter, what part of the Bible it was. Then the show did come back in the early 2000s with a new set and new title called Virtual Memory, but it was basically the same format and a new host as well. But they had kind of an updated look to it and an updated name. But that was a pretty cool name, Virtual Memory. You think memory verse, so
yeah, no kidding.
So that was actually a cool title.
Oh, that's funny. Do you know Paul Crouch Jr.?
No, I didn't, but I did hear his testimony recently about what happened. I really felt bad for him because, just the pain he went through. I heard it.
Awful. Yeah, we're good friends. We've known each other for almost 40 years, and our wives are friends. And I mean, we talk pretty regular, and we've talked a whole bunch about that whole mess for a long time, and it's just ugly. And he's really felt it necessary to go public about it. I mean, he really feels like his brother is very evil, and he's certainly done some very evil stuff. There's no question about it. And there's just so much brokenness there. It's just really, really sad to see.
Is his brother still in charge of TBN?
Yeah. Paul left some time ago, and he was the heir apparent, and he was the technical guy. I mean, Paul's a production guy. In fact, we met because I was directing a multi-camera show, and I don't remember how I got connected with him, but he had a production truck with multi-cameras, so I hired him to come do it, and that's where we very first met. And that was 1986 or something, I guess. And so we just stayed in touch. And in fact, the Miracles of the Passion documentary that I did, the host part of that, I shot down at TBN. They had this little Streets of Jerusalem, old Jerusalem little set he had built. So I shot that there with Julie Moran from Entertainment Tonight. And then TBN actually bought it. It premiered on PAX TV, if you remember that.
I remember PAX, yeah.
So they premiered it, and then TBN bought it to run in perpetuity, and then they gave it away as their love gift for 1 month, which was huge for me because they bought like 200,000 copies or something. I mean, it was like, thank you, Lord. Was any of that used at the Holy Land Experience part that TBN eventually bought? Because I remember it was started by a Messianic Jew, the Holy Land Experience. Yeah, that was down in Orlando, I think. Orlando, yeah. In fact, and they just that's been torn down now. Yeah, they just a couple of months ago, YouTube star Adam the Woo documented the demolition of the Holy Land Experience. Yeah, which was it was a very, very sad thing. There have been a couple of attempts at that kind of thing. Jim Baker was trying to do the same thing up in Charlotte area. Yeah, Heritage. And they just, they had Heritage USA up there and trying to make it an amusement park, and they were actually going to do a big theatrical kind of passion play, which I actually think they did up there. And I was actually, I don't know if you ever knew this guy, Al Kasha. I've heard the name before, yeah. Yeah, he's a two-time Oscar-winning composer and a Messianic Jew. And Al and I had kind of teamed up I'd known him for a long time, but we kind of teamed up to write this kind of passion play project for Heritage or for the Holy Land Experience. I think it could have gone either way. And didn't end up happening. They didn't have the funding to do it right. And he had done Broadway, too. He had worked on, I think, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers and some other stuff. So he and his brother both had done quite a lot. So we all had big hopes and dreams for this, but it was not in the cards, and that's okay. But yeah, it's a shame that they had put so very much money in that. And Paul had told me some time ago, said, "Man, you need to come down there and see this. It's pretty cool." But never had the opportunity. Well, Jody, thanks for joining us, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to talking soon, and best to your the projects that you have coming up. Thank you. It's been a pleasure sharing with you, bud. God bless you.
You too. And once again, we've been talking with filmmaker Jody Eldred. Until next time, this is Josh Jacobs for the Talking Archive. Keep your mind on the things above, and as you hit that open road, don't be a slow down spectator.